Hi, welcome to my channel. My name's Kathy. I'm so glad you're here. You guys probably already know this, but I am someone who has managed to heal things like spasmodic dysphonia as well as 30 other symptoms categorized as Lyme disease. Now I love to come on and talk about all of my personal experiences with healing myself, as well as maybe just tell you some things that are on my mind or some things that I think could be helpful if you guys want to start healing yourselves too. This applies to anyone with any health condition, honestly. It's not just relegated to these neurological things, because we are all just one big entity that is a combination of all of our energy, all of our emotions, all of our thoughts, all of our actions, and every day we are showing up as whatever version of us are actually a combination of all of those things. So today I want to talk about something that I've been giving a lot of thought to lately, something I'm noticing about myself, and as I dig down deeper with my own healing, I'm just noticing I'm going deeper and deeper. At first, I think I have this solution. Okay, why did I get sick to begin with? Well, I think it's just a combination of things. And the first premise that I understood quite clearly is that we all have pathogens and heavy metals in our bodies that contribute to our illnesses. And especially when we have neurological things like spasmodic dysphonia or chronic fatigue or chronic pain, migraines, any sort of thing like that. We all have a strain of Epstein-Barr as well as some heavy metals, probably mercury, contributing to our neurological conditions. That's something we all share in common. But you know, a lot of people deal with these things, and not everybody winds up with neurological disorders. So I believe that there's also an emotional and an energetic root to our conditions. One thing that's becoming very clear to me lately is the fact that I spent my life with deep-seated feelings of being unworthy. I realize now that those feelings even lived in my throat chakra. I can feel, when I start to feel those types of feelings, I can feel it just right here in my throat. And I know that that contributed to me developing spasmodic dysphonia. It's a chain reaction. When we develop something like spasmodic dysphonia or Lyme disease or chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, we have a lot of different things going on. And when we are feeling underlying feelings of unworthy, we are having all sorts of thoughts that are being generated by the primordial brain. When we feel we're not good enough, we don't think we deserve love. And that is one of the most basic human needs in order to thrive and live on this planet, is to feel love. As a matter of fact, they've done studies with human babies who are not handled and nurtured in a way that is important for their development. They can fail to thrive on a very basic level. We are all like this to some degree. And so our primordial brain has a habit of generating a lot of thoughts that are very fearful. We slip into a constant low-level fight or flight response, and we sort of live our lives coming from that response. I noticed for myself, I developed other identities. Besides the unworthy identity, I developed things like people pleaser, things like perfectionist, things like the producer or overachiever, things like the party girl, things like the procrastinator, or the puppet master. Oh, that was a big one, because that's trying to control everyone or everything around you. And again, that's a trauma response. Many of us live a good portion of our lives in that state. Well, wouldn't you know it, when we're in that state, our vagus nerve gets overstimulated. The vagus nerve controls so many things in our bodies. It controls everything from your eyes to your ears and your nose and your throat and your swallowing and your voice production, your salivary glands. It controls things like your breathing, your heart rate, your digestion, your reproductive system. So much of our bodies are actually controlled by the vagus nerve, which is the emotional center of our bodies. When that vagus nerve is overstimulated, the little root hairs off the protective myelin sheath that protects it can open up and allow for those viruses, the Epstein-Barr virus, the shingles virus. There's so many viruses, and usually it's a combination of viruses anyway, not just one. But what happens is that we keep that inflammation kind of going in our own body because of our emotional state, our underlying emotional state resulting from our feelings of unworthy and all of the thoughts that are being generated from that basic premise. We think we have to earn love. We think we have to overachieve in order to be accepted or approved of or loved. And so we have so many things going on. And what I realized is that if we can get to the root of that unworthy feeling and start to work on that, and I'll tell you a couple of ways you can start to do that. One of the first things I would recommend is to write yourself a badass list. And what is that? That is a list of accomplishments that you have accomplished throughout your entire life. I don't care if it's just the spelling bee in the 3rd grade. We need to start early on and reflect on your life and think about all of the things that you did that were accomplishments, that were worthy of praise and of admiration. We all have so many of those in our lives. We graduate high school, we graduate college, we raise children, we have marriages or other relationships that are successful. We have occupations or job accomplishments. We have so many milestones in our lives that we just forget about them sometimes. We don't give ourselves enough credit. So one of the ways you can just start working from the outside in, almost from just an exterior point of view, notice all of the things that you have ever accomplished in your life that are pretty nice and pretty remarkable. And you should allow yourself to feel the pride and feel the gratitude for yourself and for the circumstances that surrounded that accomplishment. Those are some basic ways to get infiltrated into those feelings of unworthy, because we need to start recognizing that that is a lie. You are worthy. You are born worthy. You are born as a beautiful child of God and a creation that is worthy of love no matter what. You don't have to do anything to earn it. So that's an important start. Once we can kind of recognize that, we can also recognize the second truth that I always go back to, which is our body knows how to heal itself and will always fight to do that. And the third simple truth that I love to come back to is that God and the universe have your back and are conspiring for you. With all of these things happening in your corner, in addition to your gifts, things that you're automatically good at, we all have our special gifts. And so recognizing those and actually being grateful for them and recognizing that you are worthy of love no matter what anyone else says to you or how they react to you, it means nothing about your ability and your worthiness to be loved. Sometimes we look to other people for validation. We look for outside recognition to just have that validation that we're all looking for. What I realized for myself is that I have to learn to give that validation to myself and not always look on the outside for it. I have to use my own barometer of what I think is good, what I think is right, and what I think is something to be proud of. I would recommend that you start looking within yourself for the things that you know are fantastic about yourself. I'd love for you to just write a list of things you like about yourself. Things that you know you're a nice person, you're a kind person, you're a conscientious person, you give your all. All of those things are qualities that are so admirable. And by the same token, I want you to give yourself some compassion. We've all been through it. We've been through some stuff. Earth school is no joke, and being here can be hard on our souls. And it takes a toll on our mind and our body and our spirit, all of it. So what we have to do is start repairing that. We have to start learning to summons the parts of us that we farmed out to other people, our energies that were left behind when we interacted with other people, or were looking for those other people to give us the validation, or we're hanging everything upon whatever that other person had to say about us or to us. As we're beginning to call back our own energy and use our own inner barometer, when we're thinking of ourselves as worthy instead of unworthy, we have to recognize that when those other thoughts start creeping in, the unworthy ones, look, if you've been feeling that way like I have your whole life, it doesn't happen overnight where you reprogram your brain, but we can learn to do it. So after we've made the lists, we've made the list of all your accomplishments, we've made the list of things that you should be liking and appreciating about yourself, your gifts, so to speak. Then we can start rewiring the brain when the primordial brain is telling you, you're so stupid, how could you make that mistake? How can you there's just unkind thoughts that our primordial brains often prompt us to think. We have to just take that moment and say, la, 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 I can't hear you. And we have to examine why we're feeling that way in the moment. What is the trigger that's causing us to summon those unworthy feelings? A lot of times it stems from a past experience or from childhood. Once we recognize where the feelings are coming from, we can almost put our God goggles on and look down from 30,000 feet and observe who we were in the moment where we took on those unworthy feelings. Sometimes inadvertently our parents can make us feel that way, or teachers, or other kids when we're children. Kids are so mean. When we're looking down from God's point of view to look at us and seeing our pure intentions and the fact that we are just doing our best, and also recognizing that we're human beings and every single human being is fallible and we are all going to make mistakes. So maybe we can have a little bit more compassion for ourselves and begin to see those incidents where we prove to ourselves that we're unworthy. Instead, let's flip the script and say, no, I was not unworthy. I was doing my best. And reframe those old memories and those old beliefs that came out of whatever happened. It's not so much what happens to us in life, it's what we make it mean about ourselves. We have a habit of taking an incident and then spinning this whole narrative around it For instance, if you got a bad grade when you were in elementary school or something like that, you probably could take on a identity that is unworthy and not good at school. And instead, can we flip the script to recognize that you were struggling in that moment for whatever reason? That doesn't make you unworthy. It doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make you unintelligent. It doesn't mean any of that. So we just kind of like call BS on our own primordial brain and our own belief system sometimes. BS, belief system. That is oftentimes full of BS because we have, as humans, spun all of these stories and beliefs and identities as a result. We have to start the unwinding of that in order to begin feeling more worthy. So I know for myself, I just remind myself every day when I start feeling some of those feelings creeping in, I don't have to worry about that. I am worthy. I am worthy. And so are you, by the way. So we have to just constantly rewire those thoughts, reroute that neural pathway that wants to go down the unworthy lane, and we have to divert it to a much better, more elevated lane of thinking, which is you are worthy. And regardless, if you made a mistake, let's have some compassion and let's move on, and let's assume that next time you will do better and you're going to learn from the experience. I think sometimes if we can just look at negative things that have happened to us, try to distill what is the message, what is the lesson in the event. Every life event has a lesson for us. Sometimes we're too close to it and we can't see it right away, but sometimes when we get some distance from it, we can begin to understand that we're just here to learn and we're here to grow and we are worthy. Our body knows how to heal. God has our back. And so all is not lost. We can turn our lives around one thought at a time. And we can begin to start our day with more of that exuberance. I notice for myself when I take all of those unworthy feelings out and stop judging myself so harshly, I feel much lighter and much happier. I don't feel any sort of heaviness in my brain. I can let go of that brain fog that comes with also being in fight or flight. Nothing's going to zap my ability to think clearly than the fight or flight feeling of panic, which I lived my life in constantly. And if you are also experiencing neurological symptoms, I dare say you are living in that same condition. We just have to learn to break its spell and learn to behave in a different way. So I hope you got some good stuff out of this video today. Just remember, we're just a work in progress. You're looking at a 1% improvement every day. Eventually, that will set you on a whole new path and a whole new set of healing that can occur in your body. Okay, before I say goodbye to you guys, I want to let you know about a 5-day challenge that I'm going to be doing in my Healing Spasmodic Dysphonia Facebook group at the end of April. So April 30th to May 4th, I'm going to be running a 5-day challenge to teach all of the important pillars of healing that I used for healing my voice, and it's something that is not to be missed. So I will put a link for the registration down below. I'll also put a link for the Facebook group so you can join that as well. And I hope to see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for tuning in. It means the world to me that you guys are here to listen to what I have to say, because I just feel compelled to share it. And I'm so happy that there's at least someone willing to listen and try on some of my ideas. You can heal, and you will if you start working on these things. You will find healing if you can find the way to, once again, restoring your feelings of worthy. You can take all of the actions and take care of yourself as a person who is healing themselves. You're giving yourself the top priority in your actions every day, as you should, in order to heal and move your life forward, reclaim the life that you were meant to live. I love you guys. I'll see you in the next video.